goals. Hey, I wanted to bring a brief staffing update for you this morning. So as many of you have been aware, Anna and I have sensed that our season here at WBC is coming to an end, and so we really sensed like the Lord asked us to step out, and we didn't know what we were sort of going to. We just needed to signal and be obedient to what we sensed God was saying to us. And so since then, there's been a bit more clarity, and I just want to offer a little bit of that in terms of, so what does that mean? You know, people have asked, what are you going to? What's the timeline? Are you going to be hanging around? All that sort of stuff. And so I just, couple of things. First of all is that we have the amazing Sue Collett. She's not here this morning, but who knows Sue Collett? A number of people, right. So Sue Collett is going to be stepping in to take over the coordination of the Loop Families Ministry, which is what Anna's started. And the Loop Families Ministry is really about bringing together our children, intermediates, and high school. Instead of trying to just always segregate them in terms of, segregation's a bad word, but, you know, split them off and do their program, which is great. There's also the Families Ministry that tries to do ministry together with the whole family unit. And so Sue Collett, for a few hours a week, is going to be stepping into taking over that and transitioning in, and so she's transitioning with Anna as we speak, and so Anna will finish in her role officially sort of late at the end of July. And in terms of myself, we've got Olivia. Last week we mentioned Olivia Husak is coming in to take over CYC Trust as the director, which we're so thankful for. It's been such an amazing God story. And we'll have Olivia up here and introduce her to you when she officially starts. So she's going to be starting a transition over the next few weeks. And I will finish with CYC at the end of July, where she will fully take over. But I'll remain in my role with WBC until the end of October. But the question really is, a few people have gone, okay, so what's happening now then? You know, like, a few people asked, are we going to call a senior pastor? What are we going to do in terms of finding staff? The biggest thing that we want to say, and this is what even Adam was talking about in terms of the church Jesus is building, we want to be called back to prayer. What is God saying? Because it's easy for us in times like this to jump into what our preference might be. You know, Anna and I's journey, to be honest with you, has been like, I could have easily just jumped in and taken another pastoral role at another church because there's heaps of pastoral vacancies out there, and it's the only thing that I've known. It's my comfort space. But I really felt like the Lord wasn't calling us into that. And so, and we're going to be heading off and doing some other stuff in terms of some social housing and co-housing building projects, which is going to be super exciting. But we still don't know what that is exactly going to look like. But the key thing is, what does it mean for us to step back and to trust God and to pray? We've got a prophetic words page. And so every prophetic word or word that gets emailed through to us, either from leadership or from our wider church family, we put up and we pray over and we read through. And so there's been many, many prophetic words from our wider church family, and the theme that keeps coming through is to wait and to trust God, to not rush the process. I don't know what this next season exactly will look like, but what we do know is God is faithful. What we do know is that God has called an amazingly gifted team here to Whangapuroa Baptist already. The staff team is phenomenal. A lot of churches would give their left arm to have a team that we have here. And I mean that seriously. The giftings in our team are phenomenal. And the people here are super gifted. Alongside that, on a practical note, so I sit on Assembly Council, which is kind of like the National Baptist Board. Mark sits on the board for Carey Baptist College, which is the key place that trains our pastors. We've got an unprecedented amount of vacancies right now across the Church of New Zealand. There's 102 church positions on Seek at the moment. 102 church positions. And again, God isn't in crisis mode. He doesn't have crisis meetings, right? So we can trust God. But what it is, there is this trend of actually moving towards more team leadership models, more co-pastoring, because the level of burnout of senior pastors when there's so much pressure on one person is unbelievable. And so what we see in these board contexts of just churches across New Zealand. And so in a way, Whangapuroa Baptist team leadership model has actually been a prophetic voice into the Baptist movement and into the Church of New Zealand. And there's a number of other people exploring it as an option to pick it up because of the sustainability of it and how it serves church environments. So I guess all of that to say, We just need to be praying and trusting God. We have been working hard still. That doesn't mean that we haven't done anything. We've talked with regional leaders. We've talked with national leaders. We've advertised on Seek. We've advertised in Baptist magazines. We've had countless conversations with various people that we thought might be finishing in a role or maybe want to. And we're just, we've been seeking and pushing hard, but while also not wanting to rush the process and to trust God. And so the elders have been leading that process, and we want to call you into prayer, to pray for this. And if you sense like God has given you a word of encouragement, a word of challenge, a prophetic word of some form, please send it through, because we want to be, as a church family, praying into this, wrestling with this. So that's a little bit of an update. Is that all right? Is it okay? Yeah, cool. Yeah, and so Anna and I will be finishing end of October. And as I said, so what we're going to is we're going to be starting up with some way smarter people than me, sort of a social housing, co-housing building project, social enterprise business to really work with vulnerable families to make a dent into the housing space where there's a lot of vulnerable families that are homeless and struggling for homes. And so we're going to try and do something across Auckland. It's a bit of a big, hairy dream because don't know where the money's going to come from or how I'm going to get paid to do it, but we really sense like the Lord is calling us into it. And so just as we as a church family have to trust God for this next season, so Anna and I are as well. And so we'd love you to be praying for us in that space. Lastly, we're going to, if you set your eyes on the screen, Adam has done a video to update around our youth area, because that's another area that we've got a vacancy in. And so you may have been wondering, and we've had a few questions. So what's happening with youth? Well, set your eyes on the screen, and Adam's going to give us an update.
Thanks very much, Josh. I am looking forward to sharing some updates in regards to our youth here at WBC. But before I do, I just want to let you in on something else that we're working on, which we hope will really help us as we become the church that Jesus is building. Over the coming weeks, we're going to be establishing what's known as a generations team. Now, the term generations does speak of all generations, and we value and appreciate all generations and cultures that we have here as part of our family. But I want to just explain to you a little bit about what this generations team is. As you know, many of our staff across the breadth of our church work part-time. And that can be at times quite an isolating thing. We want to ensure that each and every one of our staff has a really good, clear understanding of the heart of what's God saying to us as a church. And one of the ways that we can do that is get the right people in the right place to share the heart and vision and dream together. And so this team's going to be made up of generations between our youngest right through to young adults and our families with young kids. And so I want to let you know who's going to be on that team as we begin to establish that and find out what those rhythms and connections look like. So part of this generations team will be Shannon Groves, who heads up WBC Kids and is down there serving and doing an amazing job even right now as I share this with you. She'll be part of the team. Sue Collett is coming on board to replace Anna in the amazing job that she's done as the Loop and Families Coordinator, and so she'll be part of the team. Followed by Cass Soul, who looks after the base here at WBC, which is our intermediates ministry. We've got Hannah Lockhead, who's the 24/7 youth work manager through CYC, and we're bringing her into that team mix because we want to create a really good synergy between what we do as a church through the ministry of CYC and the college, but also Hannah will be able to give us insights of what are the needs of young people in the community just now. So excited to have her as part of that, and she's one of our youth leaders, so it's hopefully going to create a really good kind of crossover between what they and we do together in building Jesus Church. The other person is Olivia Husak, who's coming on as Director of CYC Trust. Up until now, we've had Josh as the Director as well as Team Leader here at WBC, so the connection has been very, very strong between the Trust and the church. We want to ensure that we maintain that because CYC is simply a ministry of Whangaparāoa Baptist. And so we just want to make sure that that's connected. So she's going to be part of the team. I'll be part of the team as as young adults pastor, but also I'll be bringing the coordination of that space. In time, there will be another member join that team, and that will be once we find what that youth pastor or key ministry leader for youth looks like. And at this stage, we don't have a youth pastor. And so I just want to let you know, in this season of us resetting, is I'm currently carrying that and will oversee our youth ministry here at WBC until we find someone to fill that role. That's where some of the updates come in, which I want to let you know about. As I've looked at, as I've prayed, and as I've considered where we're at as a youth ministry here at WBC, We really are in a resetting stage and a rebuilding phase for us as a church when it comes to youth. As we're rebuilding, it's important that we look at the foundations. And the foundations of what we do are that we want a place where young people can come, where they feel safe, where they belong, and where they can discover the reality of Jesus for themselves in their lives. With us coming back to that really clear narrative of why we want to do things, we've made some adjustments. We've moved youth to be every Sunday afternoon, sometimes starting at 3, sometimes at 4, depending which events we do. And we've done that quite intentionally. So we do our socials on a Sunday afternoon through until 5:15. The reason we've done that is we want to connect the places where youth socialise and connect as a group. We want to figure out how we connect it with spaces where they might see, discover and experience the reality of Jesus. And so we've built it in this way so that they would naturally, over time, begin to connect within our 5:30 p.m. service, which has more of a youth flavour. It's not a youth service. It may have more of a youth young adult flavour, but it's open to everyone and it's an intergenerational space. But we want to create a space where they begin to flow into there in the hope that they will discover more of who Jesus is. And so that's part of our rhythm. We will be doing some Friday night stuff. It's likely to be once a month, once every 6 weeks, so they still get that experience of being out with their mates late at night doing something fun. But our regular rhythm is every Sunday. We're here in the afternoon, and the base are going to join that rhythm come term 3 as well, so that our young people are all together. Up until now, young adults have typically been the key people who have helped run youth ministry here at WBC, and they have done a phenomenal job. But this morning I want to challenge us as a church that it takes a village to raise a child. It takes the church, the broader body, in order for God to do what He wants to do in the life and community around us. And I want to push a little bit and say, we don't want just our young adults running and leading our youth. You have wisdom, you have gifts, strengths and abilities that would be an amazing blessing in amongst that youth space. And I think it's time that we together as the church took a great responsibility for our young people in the hope that they will discover the goodness of God. What could that look like? First and foremost, we want you to be praying. Jesus Church is called to be the house of prayer. So we want to call everyone to be praying for our young people, that God would draw new young people, that He would draw our community into the spaces that we can interact with them to create a place of belonging, safety, that they'll discover Jesus through. So please be praying. We'd also love some of you to be available to help serve at some of our events. It might be transport on the events where we're off-site. It might be some hospitality stuff, maybe a bit of food prep or something on a Sunday afternoon when we're on-site. It may be that some of you kind of think, oh, I'm not really that young adult age, or I'm too old for you being a youth leader. It's not true. You have something to offer, and I would love anyone who feels like they can connect well with young people to get in touch. We'd love to use you in that space. The last couple of areas that I'd really love some help in. Firstly, within the 5:30 service, as we begin to see a greater buy-in from our young people, we're going to have some that actually remain an age where we remain responsible right through the service. I would love to have a handful of people that would be willing just to be there, stand near the back door, so when a young person goes out to the bathroom or exits the auditorium, you just keep an eye on them, figure out where they are, because we need to make sure they're accounted for at all times. We'd love you to be part of that to help us be a bit of a safety net for our young people. The last one I want to give you for now is I would love a collection of people who would be willing to drive our minivan at the end of the 5:30 service on a Sunday night. Some young people would like to be there, but getting home at 6:45 on a Sunday night is a bit of a barrier. So we've got the van that we can utilise. What I'd like is every Sunday night to have a guy and a lady who would be willing to sit in the front of the van and drop these kids home. The distance would be between Vipons Road and the end of Army Bay at the most, at 6:45 through to about 7:15. The job would be done, but it means that we can take these young people back to their homes safely. And by having a guy and a girl, it just means that there's good accountability and we're never stuck with someone of the opposite sex with us in that van, especially with young people. So that's what we'd love to be doing. I'd love to, whether you can do it every fortnight, whether you could do it once a month, I'd love to hear from you. But please be praying, please be considering how you could invest in the lives of our youth. I'd love to hear from you, and let's believe that God's going to do great things in this next season as we see a rebuilding and a reset in the life of our church for both youth and across the board. Thanks very much. Talk to you soon.